Greg Black, to just kind of talk a little bit about commercial music. One of the cornerstones of this Trombone Day is actually just being a well-rounded musician. So after this, we're going to have a careers in music talk, and hopefully y'all have seen how varied and just awesome having a career in music can be. So I wanted to take some time to kind of pick your brain here in front of everybody. Because working myself with musicians in all genres, going from myself being a classical musician and working with everybody, including people like Nick, there's just quite a big gap as far as education and as far as like what is needed to be a touring musician, for example. So I want this to just be a conversation, and I want all of you to please ask questions. We brought props and things to show, but to start, if you could just give us a little backstory, just brief UNT moment, and then Toby Keith.
All right, yeah, you guys had a Shires moment. I'll have my UNT moment.
Yeah, UNT moment.
Thanks so much for having me again. As Karen just mentioned, my name is Nick. I play trombone in Toby Keith's band, and I'm adjunct faculty teacher of trombone at Vanderbilt, and I co-teach with Professor Wilson, which is really, really fun. I actually met Jeremy when I was at North Texas, but I was there from the mid-aughts to the late-aughts, the early 2000s. Well, it was a really, really nice culture to, first of all, become immersed in all things trombone, in all things music, all things jazz, all things classical, just to kind of gauge how many music majors are at USM. Do you guys know? 500. There's 2,500 when I was there. At North Texas, there was 80 in the trombone department. And so you're one of very many. And there's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot to listen for. There's a lot to get involved in. So I played in a lot of ensembles. Chamber music was very important to me. I had formed a trombone quartet called the Maniacal Four. Some of you guys might have heard of that. We had some really, really awesome success as a trombone quartet. We did the ITF and a couple times. We made it to the finals twice. The second time we won it. And then from there, just realizing that we just loved playing chamber music together and doing things in a way that for us was relevant to what we wanted in our careers. It was kind of DIY, but it was all learned, while we were at school together. A lot of the things that we did, outside of ensembles, when we were just playing together and just hanging out together, we would play a lot of melodies by ear. Sometimes that was forced for like scale and tune juries, but for the most part, it was really nice to play familiar melodies, stuff like the back of your hand in all 12 keys together, trying to find the harmony and trying to, pick, if everybody's going to play unison, who's going to be the leader? We got to take turns doing that and kind of feel out where our strengths were as a group and as individuals. It took a lot of training with that, but we played a lot together. Other things that I did outside of the quartet was a lot of gigging in top 40 like pop cover bands. I got a job in a cover band called David Whiteman and the Love Chocolates. It was a really cool group. And I was 21. I got a call from a mentor of mine at North Texas. He was, his name was Carl, and he's like, "You're 21. Do you want this gig maybe?" I was like, "Well, yeah, I would love one," because it seemed like that was kind of the route I wanted to go. He was a mentor of mine, and he was doing similar things. He was actually playing in Toby Keith's band at the time, and he said, "Well, call this guy up and see how you like it." Turns out I really like playing like Stevie Wonder and Black Eyed Peas and Brick House and all of this, like just fun stuff. I really liked the energy of the music. I liked getting people dancing and excited. I liked playing loud, and it really helped me just cut some chops out there. I was playing, Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights. We would do clubs, bars, weddings, corporate events. It didn't pay very well, but I was still in school, And turns out it just was the right thing for me. I ended up doing that for many, many years in different bands, but actually met Toby Keith's saxophone player subbing in a different band, and so we got to play at a couple weddings together, and that's how I met him. And I had known the trumpet player as well in Toby Keith's band through North Texas, and that's how we kind of came together. I don't want to say it's all who you know and networking and all of that. It was a lot of work. I would say, those gigs are late. They're from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. usually. They're loud. They're really stressful sometimes, even though they're really fun. Sometimes, it's a job. Sometimes at the end of the day, you can be really passionate about it, but sometimes it's really hard work.
Yeah.
I can keep
Love
on
that.
rambling.
Can we give them a little more like numbers? Like, can you tell us like how long you toured with Maniacal for, how long you played in covered bands, and how did you get that experience of being a touring musician for reals, but then also having that exposure to commercial music?
So the Maniacal Four's longevity was, I think, 13 years. We formed in our second semester at North Texas in freshman year. We weren't touring really until after we had won ITF in 2009. But from there, I would say we did hundreds of performances across the country and on different continents. We were featured artists at the Brazilian Trombone Festival. We were guest artists back at ITF and Slide Factory over in Europe. And we would tour the States heavily. We did concert series for just any kind of tiny town in Nebraska where they have a theater, and it's nice, but it's old, and there's a community that has a concert services agency that will bring in performing acts like us, which was really cool. We did a lot of that, and we made quite a bit of money, for a trombone quartet. Something that's kind of rare and not something most people think about ever. But it was really, really nice. We also had pretty good materials in terms of videos and everything, too.
Yeah, I wanted to point out that it is possible to monetize a chamber group.
Oh, yeah.
100%. For the last part of their existence, I was their agent, and I don't love talking about money, but I'm going to throw out some numbers. $4,000 to $8,000 a gig. Yeah, so that is absolutely a possibility. And I think that what I really appreciated about the quartet and Nick's career is the readiness part. It wasn't so much that you were practicing, Black Eyed Peas or whatever, but it was, getting your ears. It was, really training and learning your instrument. So I'd love to pivot and kind of show them your ears and talk a little bit about what that experience is like.
Okay, so I did bring my show and tell. These are Jerry Harvey Audio InEars from Orlando, Florida. What in-ear monitors are basically, they're like headphones, but they go inside your ears pretty far, depending on what you get. You can buy these at Guitar Center, not these specifically, but they basically go in your ears like this. I'll just show you, and then I'm gonna lose you for a second because I won't be able to hear anything. So they go all the way in. I feel like I'm in a scuba suit now. I can hear my breath. I can hear the spit when I swallow. I can hear my tongue moving. It's really kind of disorienting. And imagine playing like this. A good thing to do, just to try it, is if you just take your fingers like this and plug your ears and talk to somebody, you're like, oh, I know exactly what that's like. I can't even tell if, I hear people going, yeah, I can't hear you. But right now, this is what's protecting me from crash cymbals, loud amplifiers, and all of that. And depending on how much money you want to invest in ears, so I made these dirty. I think I was going to pass them around.
No.
So they range in price, but what these are going to do are they're going to give you a mix for the entire ensemble, or for whatever you want in your mix.
Can we talk about what a mix is?
Yes. So I'll share with you my mix in Toby Keith's band. It has, it's the different levels and balances of all the instruments. So what I like to have is obviously my horn section. I need that pretty big in terms of what I'm hearing. So I have trumpet and tenor sax and trombone turned up pretty far. In comparison with, say, lead guitar, I have lead guitar turned all the way down, off. I say I don't really need it, but I do have a lot of drums and bass and keys. I don't have any rhythm guitar in my mix. I don't have any background vocals in my mix, and I've got just enough Toby that I can hear him and understand what's going on. But for me, like having a mix where I can feel like I can blend and do my job responsibly and well in the section is a really good thing. And you can spend really good money on these and get great results. You can also spend kind of little money and get great results too, just depending on what you need.
Financial range?
So the first pair of in-ear monitors I ever got was at Guitar Center. They were Shure brand, like the microphones, Shure 100s. They were $100. They have, and the reason I think they're called 100s is because they have one single driver in each monitor. And a driver is like, think of it like a really tiny speaker that just drives the sound into your ears. These have 12 drivers in each. Dr. Dre wore these at the Super Bowl. And these were custom fit and everything. And I really like these. I feel like, a lot of people be like, you don't need to spend, did I say how much? $2,000 on these. You certainly don't. But what I wanted was to try something that my peers in the industry were saying, like, these are everything. And, they're like, it really works as long as, like, a couple things are met. Well, these are massive. And the hard thing about playing with these and with any of these, when they stick in your ear, the moment you go like that, or move your jaw a little bit, it's going to pop those things out. And so if you ever see singers just keep on pushing those things back in, or while they're singing, they're just holding it in, it's because that thing is popping out of their ear, and they're getting all kinds of bleed from the stage. They might be hearing things they don't want to hear. So they're just going to hold that in place. What I usually have to do when I play is just be mindful of that. You can kind of feel it when it slips out a little bit, and you can push it back in. It doesn't hurt or anything, but it is noticeable, and it's one of those things that is just something to be aware of when you're playing with these. If you don't have these and you're doing like a cover band gig or something, chances are you'll have wedge monitors, which will be speakers that are facing you. Those are usually pretty good too, as long as you don't play too loud. I feel like with wedge monitors, the dangerous road with that is you're going to hear yourself, and you're going to want to play to balance it, so you're going to play louder, and then you're going to hear yourself louder, and here we go, chop out, all right, and just really loud and really kind of brash.
Yeah.
So,
okay. Two quick things before you do a Q&A. Can you share the importance of hearing protection?
Yeah, so a lot of people, like young people, might not really be thinking about like what's going on with my ears right now. I guarantee you're gonna consider it later, especially if you're in a back row, like a trombone player. If you're near percussion of any kind, consider hearing protection. If you're playing in a loud band, consider that like your ears are your career. If you can't hear, you might not be able to do your job. Obviously, yeah. Beethoven did okay.
And then last thing before we do a Q&A.
Well, I wanted to share one more thing about hearing protection. Just for reference, in North Texas, when I was playing the 3 o'clock lab band, I was playing lead trombone, and there was some kind of a class with our music health class about hearing loss, and you can check out all these things, and you can get decimeters to read the levels that are kind of happening around you. And I checked out a decimeter from Radio Shack and got it, and I just kind of affixed it to the back of my chair, so it would be like right here for a week. And I got my data and I measured as best as I could, and talked about it with one of my professors, and we kind of did some math, some loose math, and he's like, just based off the readings from what the lead trumpet player was putting out into the back of my head, that without hearing protection, I was losing about a year's worth of hearing every week in that ensemble. So really just consider that, like, it's so important, and it could just go away like that. So I always recommend, like, you know, you can buy $100 in-ears, but you can also buy $2,000 ones, and it might help.
And then the last thing for real.
Yes.
What are you glad you did as a young student that has given you the career that you have, where you're a salaried touring musician, you're able to teach, solo, be as multifaceted as you are? Like, what do you think you did well?
I was genuine. I was nice. I definitely followed up. I said thank you to a lot of people. I really wanted to just make it about, you know, the ensemble or the band. I think maybe to a fault I've made it about others so much, but I think that really helped me in certain ways. When you're not self-focused but others-focused, great things can happen, and you can get a lot of success. On the flip side, though, that can be pretty unhealthy in certain terms.
What about musically?
Musically, the most important thing was playing tunes by ear for me, and spending so much time just being familiar and having those consistent wins, and then being able to do that with other people. It was just so powerful and empowering. So.
Okay, we have some time for a Q&A. Any questions?
Yeah.
Yes.
Looks like there's a fog out in the room. It's just nice lights.
You're sweating.
So with the in-ear monitors, is each person like playing into a microphone, and then that goes into a mix that you can adjust in your in-ear monitor?
We have, in Toby's band, we have wireless mics. So I've got a wireless mic pack that it's kind of, it clips onto my bell. It's pretty decent. I can't remember. It's a Shure mic. I can't remember what type it is, but it's a little clip bell mic.
So is that like what everyone has that you're adjusting in your microphone?
So once we have that, we usually set a level at sound check, or at least at the beginning of the year, and we may not, we'll just kind of do fine tweaks from there. But we have, our front of house sound guy way out front, taking care of everything on the mains. I have no idea if I'm even in it sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, hey, my solo's coming up, and I make sure the spot comes down on me, and maybe the sound guy will go, for that. But on the side stage, I've got my monitor team, and if I'm saying, like, I can't hear the saxophone, turn them up, and they'll take care of that. In a lot of bands, you'll also be able to just take care of that yourself. You might have a little tiny little mix board to do that yourself. Sometimes I think that would be nice, but we have a dedicated crew, and they're really good at their job too. So
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Oh.
Yeah.
I'm planning to be a session musician the rest of my life. This is what I want to do. And so I'm really glad we're having this master class so I can learn a lot. And one of my biggest questions is, where should I move for the session industry? Where am I going to be getting the most gigs and building the best relations?
Well, that's a cool question. And I was like, come to Nashville. But I think you can really do it anywhere at this point. A lot of the Nashville guys aren't going into studios anymore. They've got all their stuff set up at home, and they don't leave. This is how we did it during COVID too. It just became a lot more normal to do it that way. And then people are going, well, I can just set up, and it doesn't really, the end result's the end result, right? If it doesn't matter the ways and the means to get there. And so I think wherever you want to be is pretty cool. I have a cool story. We did our first show back after the COVID lockdown, and it was in January last year, sorry. And we did it in Florida. And we were in a hotel room, and I was kind of I had an adjacent room with Jay Jennings. Jay is, if you don't know Jay, he's a trumpet player. He plays in the band Snarky Puppy. He lives in LA, and he also tours with Toby Keith, which is great. And Jay had a gig. He had a recording session that he had to do right then and there in the hotel room. And so we kind of had adjoining rooms, and I'm listening to what he's doing. I'm like, that's pretty cool. What are you doing? He's like, I got a spot for Cadillac, and I have to kind of make something real quick. What do you think? And I'm like, did you just do that in the hotel? He's like, yeah. I was like, okay. So again, like that's just another thing. Like you can do this on the road. You can do this mobile. If you have a laptop and a digital audio workspace and everything, you're good to go.
I have one more question about
Yes, sir.
that. Is there any colleges you recommend that have a high program for session musicians?
For session musicians, well, I mean, in terms of like brass playing and trombone playing, like the sessions that I've done in Nashville are pretty cinematic for soundtracks, video games, movies, TV shows. I can't remember all I've done. I remember one that was really cool and weird. We did was like season 3 of Fargo on Netflix. We did it in like a day, and it was just like long, low notes the whole time. And so I was like, okay, that to me was like I had to have really good fundamentals from my classical training for that. So that was really interesting. I've also done things for worship recordings where I've had to put on my high chops hat and play with much more pop sound and everything like that too. So
Yeah, to add to the question, or the answer, I don't really think that there's a program that could prepare you. I mean, there are, but that would prepare you just like the real world. And I think that, studying and getting your fundamentals down and then moving to a city potentially like Nashville, LA, New York, any of those, and sitting in one of those sessions, doing that freelance thing and then going and learning in real time. Of course, there's Berkeley, there's schools up in the Northeast that are, amazing. But the school of adulting is awesome.
yeah. Oh, I couldn't have said that better.
I think we need to wrap up. Maybe one more. If we have a burning question.
Ben, I see you back there.
Oh, yeah.
I know Ben.
So, when you're with Toby Keith, I assume you have to play a lot, and you have to play a lot many days back to back. So, what do you do about like face maintenance when you're having to like blow your face out every day?
Yeah. So on show days, we have basically our sound check and the show. That's what the band gets to do that day. So it's like 2 hours of playing time, and that means the rest of the day is your own. So I do use a lot of that time for recovery. Traveling in a bus is not easy. There's 11 people on my bus, and we have bunk beds, and they're like the size of coffins. It's still kind of glamorous, and it's still awesome, but it can be crowded. It can be tough. You may not be getting the right diet, the right sleep. You might be wrecked from the night before. Just from a hard show. So what I usually do is a lot of stretching, a lot of meditation. I listen to a lot of music, and I go slow. And that's the kind of cool thing about that. When I'm out on the road with them, I have the ability and the time to go slow, so that by showtime hits, I'm good to go. Usually, I don't stay up very late when I'm at home. I go to bed at like 9 o'clock. Sometimes that's when our concerts start. So it's that preparation when we're out there. Also, we're not out for extended periods of time. That used to be the way with Toby before I joined the band, actually. When he was in his heyday, he was doing 200 plus shows a year. Now we do like 50 to 60, and they're mostly squeezed into the summer. So I get to teach in the long semesters, and we actually only do like 3 or 4 shows a week, so I get to come home every week and see my wife and do my laundry and pet my dogs and, annoy everybody just enough until I have to go again. So, yeah. Thanks for the question, Ben.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. We're going to do a quick pause, set up for the final panel, and we'll be right back.
Okay. Thanks, guys.